I've been talking about Super Mario Bros. Too much lately. I think it's time to branch out a little bit. So instead, let's talk about Super Mario Bros. 2. No, not that one. As much as that is an underrated speedrun, and the Warpless category is my personal favorite speedrun to do, we won't be talking about it today. No, today, we'll be talking about some levels that are even more lost, in terms of speedrunning notoriety at least. This run is insane. This run is so hard. This run has such cool strategies. I genuinely think this is the most underrated Mario speedrun. Let's break down the Super Mario Bros. 2 U All Levels World Record. Before we break down the run, I have to talk about this video's sponsor, Manscaped. And specifically, we'll be talking about the Beard Hedger Pro Kit. I'll give it to you straight. This shaver is something I genuinely use all the time, and here's what I like about it. The zoom wheel is definitely my favorite feature. It just makes it super easy to pick exactly what length you want to trim your beard to. It's waterproof, which I don't shave in the shower, but if you do, it's perfect for that. And either way, it makes it really easy to clean. The battery display is nice, so you're never caught off guard with how much is left. And I will say, I haven't had to charge this one as often as I did with previous shavers. The Pro Kit comes with a bunch of other stuff too, like beard oil, shampoo, conditioner, and balm. So if you're interested in trying it out, go to manscaped.com and get 20% off plus free international shipping if you use promo code COSMIC at checkout. Alright, let's get into it. First off, I have some preliminary things to talk about. For one, I'm sure I'll get a few comments about how this isn't a real Mario game because it's just a reskin of Doki Doki Panic. But in my experience, a lot of people who feel this way don't actually know that much about Doki Doki Panic. The full title of the game is Yume Kojo Doki Doki Panic, and it was made by the same developers as the other Mario games. They deliberately tried to make it play like a Mario game, and even included things like stars and POW blocks. This game gave us a lot of recurring enemies in the series, like those you see on screen now, and this game could probably be credited for the concept of holding and throwing items like shells in the Mario games. Doki Doki Panic has some other major gameplay differences as well. You can't switch characters between levels. They added a brand new boss in Mario 2, and most of all, you couldn't run in Doki Doki Panic. The gameplay is a lot slower. So yeah, speaking of running, let's get back to talking about the speed run. The category we'll be focused on is all levels, and the current world record is 2035 by Ethan RTA. In this run, we won't be using any of the game's built-in warps to skip any stages. Glitches within the levels that let you go faster are allowed, and there are some really cool ones. However, there are also glitches which can transport you from one stage to another, and those aren't allowed. The game keeps a tally of how many levels you've completed, and if you use these glitches, you don't get credit for beating all the stages. We need the results to show we've completed all 20 levels at the end. Spoilers, by the way, Toad is really good, and Luigi's good as well. Mario and Peach, well, we'll use them at least. Let's be honest, this is about what it looks like whenever you do a 4-person group project. Alright, let's actually get started talking about the run. I'll be keeping some info in the top left corner for some fun extra details. At any point, you can glance up here to see how Ethan's run compares to the previous world record. And I'll also keep a stat up here, which is a running total of how lucky the run is as well. Here we go! We've got 20 levels to break down. Buckle up. Starting with 1-1, this is actually one of the most complicated levels in the run. Here, let's do something fun. This is what a more casual playthrough of this level might look like. And here's what it looks like in a world record. It's only the first level, and we've got so much going on. This is going to be information overload right up front, because I have to explain like 4 different tricks and mechanics, but they'll come up again throughout the rest of the run. First, he picks Toad because Toad's unique ability is he runs faster when he's carrying something. That doesn't make a lot of logical sense, but we will not complain. You'll see him in each area pick up the first thing he can to start running faster. Next is double jumps. You'll see this used in a number of places as well. If you jump really close to an enemy, so you clip the corner of them on the way up, then the game thinks you landed on top of the enemy and considers you to be in a grounded state. As long as you push jump again before you start falling, you'll be able to jump again mid-air. This one Ethan does at the beginning of 1-1 is extremely tight. He has to get just about the maximum height so he can land up here. And this is just the trick to get to the trick. He comes up here so he can grab a potion out of the ground and create a door to the subspace. In normal gameplay, you go in here to get power-ups and find coins to earn extra lives. But that's not why Ethan's going to subspace. He went in so he can go right back out. This seems weird and pointless, but you'll notice something weird happened with the POW block. He picked it up and then picked up an enemy afterwards, and it vanished. If you grab an item on the very first frame after exiting subspace, the item gets in a sort of glitched state. It gets picked up, but Toad doesn't act like he's carrying it. It just floats around above your head. You can keep picking other things up and throwing them, and the glitched item isn't affected at all. So Ethan goes into subspace, does a frame-perfect yoink on this POW block despite there being no good visual cue, and then grabs another Shy Guy for speed. He keeps running through the level and does another tight double jump to get up to this door. Now, the whole point of getting the glitched item is to take it through this door. You normally can't take items through doors, except keys, but with this glitch active, you can. And now, the whole reason he brought the POW in here is just so he can glitch out another item. Well, an enemy this time. Throwing a POW makes a little earthquake that kills all the enemies on screen. And if you pick up an enemy in the first 2 frames after the POW hits the ground, you'll get that glitched state again. Now he's carrying the Shy Guy hands-free, and the goal is once again to take our glitched item through another door. But we're not actually gonna use the door. We would have to wait out a bomb fuse to blow up this wall, and that's slow. Instead, Ethan pulls 2 bombs out of the ground. He throws both of them against the wall and races to the bottom of the ladder. Now, you can catch falling items while climbing, so he catches the first bomb. But now that he's holding a bomb, he can't catch the second one, and it pushes him through the floor instead. This takes him to the next screen without having to use the door. This is called a wrong warp, and I'll get more into the details of this glitch later. The short version for now is basically, the game knows if he's on this screen and takes an exit, it needs to put him on this screen outside. Normally that's done via the door, but since it was done via a ladder this time, we enter the next screen on a ladder. An invisible one, but still a ladder. And because we're on a ladder, we can do another glitch. Again, I'll go into this one a little more in-depth later, but for now, just know that if he pushes jump in a 3-frame window, he can do another type of mid-air jump and save some time here. Okay, finally, we've made it. We've juggled several different glitches, all to bring a Shy Guy with us onto this screen. We have a little mini-boss here named Birdo. Normally the way this fight works is Birdo will spit out an egg every 4 seconds or so. This means a lot of waiting around for opportunities to deal damage, and that's where the Shy Guy comes in. This part happens off screen, so let me show you what this looks like. He throws a Shy Guy into the ground and hits himself with it on purpose. While Toad is taking damage, everything on screen freezes, except the falling Shy Guy. He does this to keep Birdo in place while the Shy Guy travels towards her. Once it reaches her, it starts bouncing and deals all 3 hits in one go. Ethan had to go a little out of his way to make this possible, but ultimately, this saves about 6 seconds on Birdo. Whew! All of that was just the first level. There's still 19 more for Ethan to successfully run through, and 19 more for me to break down for you. It's been a lot of work to get this video out, so subscribe if you want to see more like it. Alright, on to 1-2. This is another pretty complex stage. At the start, there's this Pidgeot enemy riding a carpet. We need to commandeer that carpet for our own purposes, so Mr. Pidgeot's gotta go. He always swoops down at the start. If we miss our chance to grab him now, we'll have to charge a power squat jump to reach him, and that would be slow. Ethan intentionally takes damage so he can jump through him and catch him on the upswing. Great, we've got our carpet. But you know what they say, 2 carpets are better than 1, am I right? Normally riding a carpet locks you into moving at a really slow speed, but when you spawn a second carpet, we can get around that. The game is focused on whether or not you're riding the newest carpet, and loses sight of the first one. So your speed doesn't get locked down when you jump on it anymore, and we're free to run like the wind. At this point, you're normally supposed to go down here, get a key, unlock this door, and go through this whole room. But we're just gonna fly right over it. Ethan carefully lines up with the ground here, so he can toss the Pidgeot, clearing the enemies out of the way in the process, and pull a potion out of the ground. He's gonna do a repeat of the glitch he did in the previous level. He goes in the door to subspace, goes right back out, and does another frame-perfect pluck to get a glitched vegetable above his head. This is, again, so we can bring an item through a doorway and skip waiting on Birdo's egg cycles. Ethan quickly takes her out with the veggie and saves several seconds. That wraps up 1-2, and we're on to 1-3. This is the last level of World 1. The last level of each world has a boss fight. And for this world, it's Mauser. No, not Bowser, not Meowser. Mauser. He's a big mouse that throws bombs at you. Bosses, and a lot of other things in this game, all work off of a big global timer. Stars spawning, Sniffits shooting bullets, Birdo shooting eggs, those are just a few examples of the things that work off of the global timer. It starts ticking at the beginning of each level, and it starts fresh each time, so it doesn't matter what has happened in previous levels. Each level is self-contained, and you know what patterns you're going to get based on how you've played that specific level so far. The pattern that Mauser does will be influenced by where the global timer is when we reach him. Ethan put in a lot of work to figure out the fastest strategy for this fight. He wants to play this level at a very specific speed so he can get the fastest pattern. And part of this involves a precise trick coming up. When we get inside this building, we're supposed to go up to the top and grab a key, then take the key all the way to the bottom to open this door. But we're going to do another wrong warp glitch instead. Just like last time, we're going to get pushed through the ground so we can take an alternate glitched entrance instead of going through the slower, intended one. This time around, we'll have a Shy Guy land on top of us to push us through the floor. The standard way to do it looks something like this, where you ride the Shy Guy down most of the way. But Ethan does a very high-level version of this trick, with only a 2-frame window to throw the Shy Guy. He also has to manage his speed on the way down, and grab this chain to slow his descent a bit so the Shy Guy doesn't go off screen and unload. This setup for the trick was invented by an old legend of the game named I Love Mario. Shoutouts to him. Now, because Ethan did the faster version of the wrong warp, and has otherwise played the level at a specific speed, he's all set up to get the fastest pattern on the boss. At the end of this room, we find the orb that opens the hawk mouth. That usually ends the stage, but on the last level of each world, it instead leads to the boss room. Ethan crouches on his way in, so he comes out crouching on the other side too, and that lets him avoid bonking his head. Alright, now we're in Mauser's room, and he's just behind this wall. Ethan jumps up here, and that spawns Mauser to get him to start throwing bombs while we're waiting for this wall to blow up. We need 3 bombs to take out Mauser, and we have that perfect pattern with 3 bombs ready to go right away. Throwing these over to Mauser's platform is way harder than it looks, thanks to some jank hitboxes, and I mean, you can see in slow-mo just how tight this is. But yeah, 3 quick ones, and Mauser is down for the count. Now we listen to a celebratory fanfare, and with all of that, we've managed to make it through the first world of the game. Okay, on to the next world. In 2-1, Ethan wants to pick up an enemy as soon as possible to give Toad a speed boost. This snake guy is called a Cobrat, and he's our man. You'll notice that he bobs up and down in the sand. Ethan makes sure he's at a low point before getting close, so he's lowered down when he jumps out, and it's easier to get on top of him. Now, as he runs through here, you'll notice this level has lots of sand. I guess that's another thing this Mario game introduced to the series, a desert world for World 2. And the sand isn't just for show, it's about to become very relevant here in a second. We're gonna start digging. There will be a few digging sections in this run, and each one is a fine art. You need a good rhythm to do it fast, and you'll often see him zigzag on the way down. This is to change the path that the Shy Guys walk, so they don't fall down onto him. You also want to go wherever the cherries are, because that's an extra tile that you don't have to dig. Plus, getting 5 cherries makes a star appear. Where it floats to after it appears is seemingly random, but it's based on the global timer as mentioned earlier. Ethan pauses at this spot and waits for a specific audio cue to make the star float to a consistent spot. This also manipulates the bullets that the Sniffit shoots. If it ends up shooting too many, then the star actually won't be able to spawn. It's crazy how many details are going on in speedruns, and most of the time you just have no idea. Once Ethan gets the star, he quickly gets down this ladder and enters Birdo's room. And once again, he defeats her without having to wait on any egg cycles. This saves 10 seconds. This was the last pink Birdo in the game. Other colors will start showing up now, which shoot eggs faster or have objects in the room to fight them with. The pink ones, you're always supposed to wait around for 4 seconds at a time to get eggs, but Ethan managed to kill all the pink ones without waiting on a single egg. Alright, moving on to 2-2, Ethan grabs another Cobrat to start off. He makes sure to grab it on the far right side, and then hold A. Holding A makes you fall slower, so the combination of those two things lets him make it onto this cactus. As he runs through the stage, he wants to pick up some more cherries to get another star later. Eventually, he comes to another ladder, or vine, I guess. Vine, chain, ladder, it's all the same in this game. Now, I kinda breezed past this last time, but he drops off the side of the vine so he can fall down faster, and then re-grabs it at the bottom to climb down through the screen transition. Once inside, we have some more digging to do. There's actually a very precise optimization Ethan's gonna go for here. With really precise vertical positioning, it's possible to land on top of an enemy instead of on top of the next row of sand. If that happens, you can just walk off the side of the enemy to get down, and this is called a dig skip. The problem is that it's precise down to the subpixel level, and you can't really control it. There's basically only a 1 in 4 chance that it works each time. Okay guys, actually, while working on this video, I had the idea to jump into a ceiling to get consistent vertical positioning, and it turns out that it works. This can now be used in future runs to save time in multiple levels, and maybe even shave a little bit of time off of the any % run. You might be thinking, big whoop, skip digging 1 tile. But remember, in this game, there's always that global timer ticking in the background. Sometimes one tiny change like this can lead to saving more time elsewhere. And that's exactly the case in this level. Ethan gets the 1 in 4 chance of a dig skip on this Shy Guy, and that's gonna make all the difference on Birdo at the end. He keeps digging and gets enough cherries to get a star. This lets him be bulletproof, and Shy Guy proof, and get through this part safely. Now he's in Birdo's room, and here we see our first instance of these mushroom blocks. These will be really common in boss fights from here on out, as a way to deal damage. Ethan grabs a block and power squat jumps up to Birdo. And because he got the dig skip earlier, he can do an extremely fast fight here. He throws the block to deal 1 hit on the way in, and then gets in position as she's about to fire an egg. Similar to how the Shy Guy bounced into Birdo multiple times in 1-1, if you throw these mushroom blocks into an egg, they'll bounce and hit Birdo multiple times. You'll keep seeing this kind of thing a lot. Which also means something scary. See, we're fighting red Birdos now. Red Birdos usually shoot eggs, but sometimes they shoot fireballs. And the mushroom block doesn't bounce off of the fireball. You just get hit and look foolish. There's a 1 in 8 chance for these Birdos to shoot a fireball instead of an egg. Pretty good odds, but to go as fast as possible, we need to do this sort of thing several times throughout the run. And you can see the odds start to go down pretty quickly. And it's actually even worse in this case, because the more damage Birdo takes, the more likely she is to shoot a fireball. Because Ethan did damage on the way in, it's actually a 1 in 5 chance of a fireball this time. For the most part, you can mitigate luck in this run by knowing about the global timer and playing accordingly. But unfortunately, there still is a decent amount of luck with certain things like this. Alright, that's enough about that. Let's move on to 2-3. We've been going quickly down a lot of ladders, but now it's time to go up one quickly. Ethan does a ladder jump here. It's the same thing that happened on 1-1, but we can actually see the ladder this time. We'll see this trick a bunch from here on out. This is actually kind of like the double jump off of enemies, where you can jump as long as you haven't started falling yet. When you climb off the side of a ladder, there's a brief period where you're still moving upwards, and you can jump during that time. It's a 3-frame window to jump, so not too bad, but still challenging, especially when there are a lot of them to nail throughout the run. Ethan grabs this Bezo and mostly does basic platforming through the stage until going inside this pyramid. Now, it's time for some more digging. We need to go all the way to the bottom to get this key to open this door. There's no way to wrong warp in there this time. These parts could be seen as boring, but honestly, these are some of the most impressive sections to me, on the way down and on the way back up. If you compare top level runners to just average runners of this game, it's crazy how much time they pick up in these sections. On the way down, Ethan gets 5 cherries again to make a star spawn. This will be very important. Just kidding, he doesn't actually need it. He charges a jump and grabs the key just in time before getting hit by this spark. Grabbing the key makes Phanto start chasing you. This guy was probably the precursor to the Angry Sun from Mario 3. But Ethan actually moves so fast, you hardly see him. What happened on the door right there? That was weird. When you get near the top of the screen, everything freezes and then the screen scrolls up to where you are. But if you land right where a door is, there's a 2-frame window where you can open the door before the screen scroll happens. That kinda breaks things, and you're free to move around as the door animation is going. I said we couldn't do a wrong warp to get in the door, but we can do a wrong warp with the door. When you don't go through the door properly like you're supposed to, the game defaults to putting you in the middle of the screen on the other side. It's not an enormous time save, but this does save 1 second, which is not nothing, and it's really impressive to hit this on top of all of the other stuff in the run. Ethan grabs the orb in the next room and once again crouches into the Hawk's Mouth, which lets him move faster through the boss room. Now this guy is Tryclyde. He's maybe the most intimidating looking boss in the game. But don't worry, he's no match for this tiny bird. I'm not sure why they put this tweeter enemy in the room here, but we can throw him at a block and he'll bounce up and down and damage Tryclyde multiple times. That's 1 very fast kill and 1 more world done. So it's on to World 3. In 3-1, there's a waterfall that's not super fun to look at. But trust me, it could be worse. It was much worse in Doki Doki Panic. I'm not going to show it because I'm afraid it will hurt someone. You can look it up at your own discretion if you want, but don't say I didn't warn you. Anyway, we ride this carpet up, up, up into the sky before reaching this big vine. Here's an opportunity for vine jumps to save some time. Unfortunately, that didn't go very well for Ethan this run. Here's what it usually looks like for him. He really wanted to do this part quickly, because it helps to get a good Birdo pattern at the end. But now because he messed up the vine jumps, he has to resort to this ghastly looking fight. Yeah, actually, you would hardly know this wasn't the strategy he was aiming for. It still looked plenty fast. But here's what he was hoping it would have looked like. Alright, it's time for 3-2, and what is this? New character? It is Princess Peach's time to shine. Her key trait is that she can go through the air. This superpower of hers lets us cross this big gap. That skips going through this room and bombing a bunch of walls. It almost seems like an intended skip. Like there are a bunch more rooms, but the rest have walls in between them. I'm not sure why they just put a gap here instead of a wall, but either way, it's awesome for Peach to get some screen time. Now, if skipping that room wasn't enough, we're gonna skip over the rest of it too. Like, literally over it. If you ladder jump near the top of the screen, you can land up on top and walk over the level. This is a callback to the famous 1-2 Warp Zone secret in the first game. Just kidding, this is a glitch. Once Ethan reaches the furthest ladder, he climbs up it and enters the door to arrive at Birdo's room. The blocks to damage this Birdo are floating strangely to the left of her. Ethan picks one of them up and actually uses Peach's float here as well to not fall down. This fight is going to be like earlier, where we bounce the block off of an egg to do multiple hits. Except now, we need the block to hit her 3 times. Ethan walks under the block, so it bounces off of Peach for the last hit. Now that's using your head. Ugh, this game has cool strats, man. Also, remember there's another 1 in 8 chance for Birdo to spit fire here and ruin the run. Thankfully, that didn't happen. Okay guys, I'm jumping in here again to say that I figured out another cool new strategy while working on the video. See, there's actually a huge trick in this level that the tool-assisted run does. Going through the floor like this is extremely precise, and no one has ever been able to pull it off in real time. I figured out a different method that is viable though. It's still really hard, and we need some work to figure out the fastest way to set it up, but I'm really excited about it. We might see this trick in a world record run in the future. Although, that unfortunately means I probably killed Peach's 1 moment of glory in the run. My bad. Anyway, on to 3-3. This level is a lot. It's maybe the hardest level in the game. If we made a podium of the top 3 hardest levels in the run, well, 1-1 might come in first actually, but its difficulty is mitigated a lot by being right at the start, so you can just retry instantly. This level is at least a close second. We have another new character alert here, as Ethan picks Mario for this level. Mario doesn't really have any standout characteristics like Toad's speed, Peach's float, or Luigi's jump height. But in this level, we do need someone who can jump better than Toad. And even though Luigi has the best jumps, he actually rises pretty slowly with each jump. So, Mario is the optimal choice here. The action really starts when we enter this building and have to climb this huge vertical room. Ethan grabs this Shy Guy and starts bringing it up with him for some extra height. He throws the Shy Guy against the wall and does a double jump off of it. Mario's height makes it up here perfectly. The precision doesn't stop there though. He does another tight double jump off of this tweeter, and then a bunch of chain jumps in this section, dodging enemies and fireballs along the way. In the next room, there's more tight vertical platforming, weaving between the spark enemies all the way up. So many jumps in this stage are harder than they look, because you need to make sure you manage your speed properly to get enough height. Alright, we made it to the top and go in the door. Now, let's go back down. It's finally time to talk more about wrong warps. Ethan's about to do one, and that's the reason for this. The first thing to understand is that each area of the game is made up of several screens. Whether it's a vertical area or a horizontal area, each one is made up of a bunch of screens stitched together. This video by Isofreeze will help us visualize the next part. Basically, the game has two lists in memory. On the left, we have all the screens in the current area. And on the right, we have the locations that all of those screens will lead to, like if you were to go in a door or climb up a vine or whatever. Take this screen in 1-1 for example. This door takes us to Birdo's room, but if you glitch through the ground, you still end up on the same screen, just via the ladder instead of the door. But what happens if you glitch through the ground on a screen that doesn't already have a door, or any kind of entrance? Well, weird stuff can happen. The way this works is each time the list of screens is updated, the list of entrances is updated too. But only the screens that actually lead somewhere update their corresponding spot in the entrance list. This means when you transition to a new area, you'll have a whole new list of screens, but only some of the entrance list is updated. All the time as you play through the game, you've got a bunch of leftover entrances hanging out in memory, which normally don't matter because there's never supposed to actually be any entrances on those screens. But with glitches, we can trigger an entrance on a screen we're not supposed to, and get sent to one of these destinations. I hope that made any sense. This is the reason Ethan climbs all the way to the top in 3-3, and then turns around. When you first enter the door, the game loads 5 screens into memory, the last of which points to the boss room. You would normally travel through this room, enter the Hawkmouth, and arrive at the boss. Instead, you can go back through the door, and then the game loads the set of screens for the previous room. The 5th screen in the list still points to the boss room, so if we can trigger a glitched entrance while on that screen, we'll end up at the boss. The screen we need to do this on is this one. There's not really anything to work with on this screen, but there is a door on the screen above. Maybe we can do that glitch from earlier that lets us move during the door animation, and move down to the lower screen before the door transition happens. Turns out it works. This might come as a surprise, but the whole point of this actually isn't to get to the boss room faster. In fact, we'll get there a tiny bit slower going this way. All of this is so Ethan can take a star into the boss room and defeat Mouser instantly. So much is about to happen here. Ethan grabs a cherry to spawn a star. He does a ladder jump so he can land at the door. He enters the door in the 2-frame window before the screen starts scrolling upwards. Now he can move around during the door animation, and he uses this time to fly down the ladder and make it to the screen below just in time. If you don't get down far enough before the screen transition happens, you'll actually end up stuck in the ceiling of a different room. But that's not what happened this run. Ethan made it to the boss room with a star and instantly defeats Mouser. If you can believe it, it doesn't stop there. If you do all of this fast enough, the star music will end just after the victory music starts playing, and it'll cancel both of them. That lets him go through the door immediately and skip waiting for the fanfare to play. So much happens here in such a short period of time, and it all amounts to saving a total of 15 seconds. Again, I hope all of that made sense. This was a hard trick to explain. Whew. Alright, after all of that, we finally have a little bit of a breather in World 4. The next couple of stages are pretty chill. We're back to playing as Toad, so we can run fast. 4-1 is just straightforward platforming until we come to this rocket. These rockets will shake for a while before taking off, and how long they shake for actually depends on a frame rule. Yes, this thing may as well be a bus. The rockets will only take off every 64 frames. So if you miss a cycle, you'll lose a full second, which is pretty painful. The optimal cycle for the rocket on this stage is super easy to get, but that won't always be the case. Ethan does a cool strat in the next room, where he throws an enemy and then double jumps off of it. And that's the end of this stage, no boss fight here. In 4-2, there's another rocket, but the cycle for this one isn't so free. We need to be fast. Ethan does a cool move here, where he charges up a jump while sliding on the ice. Unfortunately, he jumps barely too early and he doesn't get the power jump. He quickly recovers with a vine jump, but now the rocket cycle is gonna be tight. As he hops across these whales, he detours a little bit to collect cherries, because a star will be very handy coming up. There's gonna be a rocket at the end of this room, and again, he's at risk of losing the cycle on this one. So, he adds in a difficult double jump off of this enemy to make up a little bit of time. Alright, here's the rocket. Let's see how he did. Ah, that thing shook forever. He barely missed the cycle. Ah well, we keep going. In the next room, you're supposed to ride this thing, called an auto bomb, so you can cross the spikes. Instead, he takes damage and gets as far as he can while he has invincibility. He collects the final cherries needed for a star, and then hops on this enemy to keep him safe until the star floats up. The star lets him cross the rest of the spikes, but even better, he takes it into Birdo's room for another star kill. Another one down, we're on to 4-3. This is an interesting level. First of all, it's Luigi time! Time for some huge jumps. Now, I kinda lied earlier about there being no more pink Birdos. There is one more here, but we're not fighting it. We need to ride on an egg to get through this level. If you walk straight out the door at the beginning, you have to wait for a few seconds on the global timer before Birdo will spit out an egg. And while you're waiting, Birdo walks further to the left, which means the egg has to travel further and waste time. Ethan instead does something really clever here. He waits before entering the door, and then goes out when the time is right. Now, Birdo doesn't have a chance to walk to the left, but she still fires an egg at the same time, which is a pretty smart optimization. After a few seconds of riding the egg, Ethan builds up some speed and jumps off. And now, we arrive at this door. You're supposed to go inside and climb this giant tower. Seriously, it just keeps going. You're meant to ride an enemy across some spikes, find a key, go all the way to the bottom, and come out the other side. How about instead of all of that, we jump? Nice. Thank you, Luigi. Now we're basically at the boss. This is Fry Guy. Once we hit him 3 times, he breaks up into small fries. We have to really carefully plan how to do this fight, or else the small fries will scatter all over and it'll be a huge mess to clean up. There are several different strategies people have used on this fight. Here are a few examples of what's been done in the past, including what the previous world record did. But Ethan came up with his own way of doing this. Let me introduce you to the Shenron. He tosses one, he tosses another. They both tag Fry Guy on the way down. Now, the third throw is very carefully timed, so Fry Guy separates while inside the wall. That makes the small fries get stuck inside and bunch up together. Now, he throws one block to douse them all as they're popping out, and then lands right between the goalposts. Okay, we've made it to World 5, and Luigi gets to hang around for another level. And you can see why, we have some massive jumps to make here. Once we get to Birdo, this one also has a beautiful strategy. Another Ethan special that he crafted himself. There's just enough time here to get in position before she falls down. Ethan throws this block while it's inside a wall, which makes it fall straight downwards. It starts to damage Birdo as it falls, and then he gives it a huge rebound back up to do 2 more hits. Such a cool fight. Alright, 5-2. If we go back to our podium of hardest levels, 5-2 gets the bronze. And that's mostly because it has 1 billion vine jumps. People actually used to use Luigi for this stage because all the vine jumps are easier with him. But again, Luigi rises slowly with all of his jumps, so using Toad will be a lot faster. Plus, we can pick up an enemy to run faster this way too. There is one issue though. At this spot, Luigi could jump right up here, but Toad can't with a regular jump. Instead of charging a squat jump, Ethan throws one enemy to use as a stepping stone, and then grabs the other one to keep running fast. Now, he didn't end up going for it in this run, but over here, he normally uses this Ostro to get a big double jump and climb the vine faster. Alright, this next screen is a doozy. Here come all the vine jumps. It is super easy to miss any number of these, and have everything just spiral out of control. Ethan had a couple hiccups here, and unfortunately lost about 3 seconds on the stage. He ended up having a great Birdo fight though. We need to use 2 eggs to damage her, and again, each one has a 12% chance to be a fireball. Luckily, he got eggs both times, and he grabs this Trouter enemy in a cool way to finish her off. Okay, time for 5-3. It's raining bombs in this level. They explode shortly after you pick them up, and they're kind of out of the way on this first screen, so Ethan doesn't stop to grab any of them. When he reaches these 3 bombs, he manages them strategically to blow up the walls and get through as soon as possible. And now on the next screen, he does juggle a couple of bombs to give Toad a speed boost. This next room is a wild climb. He crouches and slides through this gap to skip a very long detour down below. Now, he's got a precarious climb ahead of him. He grabs one of the mushroom blocks so Toad can move faster as he jumps back and forth. He makes his way towards the top, and then once he does, he can't enter the door with the block in his hands. So he tosses it. Huh. Well, that's fun. This next part is also really fun. We get to do another fast carpet glitch. Remember that this involves spawning 2 carpets. Ethan snipes the first Pidgeot with a turnip, loads the second one, and hops on. This level will be very reminiscent of 1-2. He once again lines up with the ground to do another drive-by veggie pluck. And we get another veggie kill on Birdo. It's not over yet though, we have the boss of this world left to fight. This is Claw Grip. In Doki Doki Panic, the boss of this world was yet another Mauser fight. But we got a brand new boss in Mario 2. Speedrunners maybe would have preferred a Mauser fight here though, because this guy is the worst. If Birdo's egg RNG wasn't bad enough, this guy may as well be a slot machine with extra steps. The only way to hurt him is to grab the rocks that he throws. He can throw them at different intervals and at different heights, which is very random and very annoying. The old strat here was to throw rocks against the back wall and have them bounce into him. They'd usually hit a couple of times, but depending on how Claw Grip moves, they could rarely hit 4 or even 5 times and take him out in one go. That's cool and all, but again, it's all very random. You got random throw timing, random throw heights, and then when you deal damage, you get a random number of hits. At least, that's how things were, until this happened.
What? Yo, is that a new strat?
This is the cool crab kill. When you take damage in this game, enemies and objects can just fall through the floor during the damage animation. If you do this with one of the rocks and get it stuck in the ground below Claw Grip, it'll eventually bounce up out of there and combo him to death. This discovery got rid of a fair amount of luck in this fight, but there still is a lot. Ethan got pretty good luck in his run. He got a hold of a rock quickly, did the cool crab kill, and wrapped up World 5. Once you get this far in the run, the nerves can really start to set in. We're past a ton of the insane tricks and a ton of the luck-based stuff. 6-1 has a lot of tricky platforming. We're literally dodging bullets here, and it's super easy to come up short on one of these jumps. None of that stuff is trouble for Ethan though. Everything is going great. Ouch. This is like annoyingly easy to do. You're just trying to get him out of your hands so you can go in the door, but so often he lands right on the ledge next to you and hits you. Despite this mistake, Ethan goes on to play really well in the next section. The climb out of this sand was fantastic. His mistake earlier will mess up the Birdo pattern, and ultimately it loses him 3 seconds on this stage. But I want to show how he made up a full second in this room compared to the previous world record. Super impressive movement. Alright, moving on to the next level. It's Luigi time again. And spoilers, we're going to stick with him for the next 3 stages. You'll immediately see why we want Luigi for 6-2. I'm just going to let this one play. This right here is one of the most satisfying speedrun strats I've ever seen. The birds are spaced so perfectly apart. Again, it's almost like it was intended. On the Birdo fight at the end, he intentionally takes damage so he can stand on top of the orb inside Birdo. He keeps dealing damage and picks up the orb immediately once she's toast. Now in 6-3, the regular path is to head to the right, go through this huge cave, and then you have this insane climb up into the sky. And then up in the sky, there is, of course, a pyramid, which is where the boss resides. Instead of going through all of that, there's actually a secret shortcut at the start. You can go down into the quicksand and make your way over to this hidden door. And that brings you right up by the pyramid. But instead of that, we can make our own secret shortcut by jumping off of a potion to go up and over. I love it, man. This type of trick is an example of why I love speedrunning. It's just really creative and looks awesome. Okay, now to fight Birdo. For the last time, Ethan needs one final egg from her, and hopes to once again avoid the 1 in 8 chance of a fireball. She gives him the egg, which allows for a quick kill, and that brings the odds of this run to 23%. Only a 23% chance between all the Birdos and Claw Grip to get a run like this. If you count the 1 in 4 chance of getting the dig skip back in 2-2, this run is really something. Anyway, Ethan grabs the orb and crouches into the Hawkmouth once again to avoid the ceiling in the next room. And then we have another Triclide fight. He tosses one block up here, grabs another, and then uses his invincibility to go inside Triclide and reuse the first block for a quick 3 hits. That does it for World 6, and now we're in the final world of the game. World 7 only has 2 levels instead of 3, and we get to keep using Luigi for this first one. You're supposed to ride an Albatross over to this rocket on the left, but Luigi can go ahead and just jump over here on his own. And in the next room, Luigi can just jump over this wall too. Finally, we have a bunch of ladder jumps to climb up this screen to the final Birdo fight. And thankfully, these jumps aren't too bad to do with Luigi. Once in the final Birdo fight, Ethan says he took things pretty chill here. I mean, I guess, looked fast to me. But you can see he does lose a bit of time. His lead is dwindling. However, his current PB he's comparing against is literally 1 frame off of the record. He just needs to save any amount of time over his personal best and he'll beat the world record. Here we go, on to the final level. 7-2 is a pretty long stage, and we need to go fast the whole time to make a cycle on the boss. After navigating enemies and conveyor belts, he has some chains to climb. And instead of climbing this one and continuing on to a huge labyrinth of rooms, he's instead going to jump up on top of the screen again and walk over most of the level. Once he's gone far enough, he drops down to this Birdo. I said the previous stage had the final Birdo fight, and that's true, because we're not going to fight this one. Glitching over the top of the screen broke this Birdo, who usually guards the key. The key is roaming free, and we can just pick it up and move on. Ethan dodges some enemies here and unlocks the door to the room with the final orb. This time, the Hawkmouth comes to life, which was nightmare-inducing for many children, I'm sure. Ethan makes swift work of this bird by bouncing the mushroom block into it twice, and then throwing it for a final hit during his invincibility. Alright, here's the final boss.
I am the Great Wart! Ha ha ha!
One misstep here means death. Because Ethan played the level fast, he makes it here on a good cycle, just in time to catch the first vegetable coming out of the Dream Machine. These come out roughly every 4 seconds, and we need 6 of them to defeat Wart. They come out in a set pattern, as you can see. Ethan is super prepared to catch each one and throw it into Wart's mouth. Yeah, no, definitely right into his mouth. Anyway, the 5th hit is really scary. You have to get in close, and that's terrifying right at the end of this world record pace run. But he makes it out alive, and at this point, he's got it. He tosses the last one in Wart's mouth, and that's it. Super Mario Bros. 2, all levels in 20 minutes and 35 seconds. This run is so cool. Honestly, even though this was my longest video yet, I have to say I couldn't do it justice. I had to skip over pointing out a lot of little details. There is so much nuance to all the platforming, enemy patterns, glitches, throws, jumps, boss fights. I definitely recommend watching the full thing. I put the link in the description. It's really impressive that Ethan hit all of the tricks, got lucky enough for the run to not die to Birdo Fireballs or the crab, and closed it out. He took a little break, but he's going to be back for more in this game soon, and he'll be going for the world record in any percent, and other categories as well. Definitely check him out. That pretty much does it for this video. What did you think? I know it wasn't SMB1, but I want to sometimes cover other runs that I think are really cool. Maybe I could even branch out further? Something like Donkey Kong Country 2? Let me know. And subscribe so you don't miss future videos. Thanks for watching!